Hello friends. So today you might be noticing straight away, Mrs. Littlejohn, you have a mess on your desk. And it is true, I do have a mess, but it's a mess that has purpose. And we'll be talking about all of this stuff in just a few moments. Because today, my friends, we are going to be talking about something new. Because readers don't just read for fun. Readers also read to learn things, to be informed, to research. And so there's all kinds of different reasons why people might be reading. So we're going to talk real quick about the difference between fiction and nonfiction. And today you might hear my family in the background because we're all home together and we're all working in this room, and we're just going to ignore the background noise that's happening. So fiction, I just kind of made a quick little list here that goes on the top, and then we'll get deeper into what these things mean. Fiction is imaginative. It's something that we can often picture in our brain. It might be based in our real world, but it's not a true story usually. It's usually made up. It's usually a story, and it's usually here just to entertain us. So if I think about how I watched the new movie Soul on the Disney Channel this season, I know that I was entertained. It was a story, it was made up, and it had a lot of imagination in it. What it didn't have a lot of were facts. I don't know if it was a real story or not. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I don't think it was true, and it wasn't there to inform me. It was there to entertain me. And so we're going to be talking more about nonfiction today. So some real true things about fiction versus nonfiction. Fiction is not real. So it can be based in your backyard, but it's a story that's made up. It can have unicorns in it. It can be about the time you imagined that you flew into space and landed on an ice cream planet and you ate all the mint chocolate chip ice cream that you wanted before you flew back in your spaceship. That would be a not real story. A real story about planets might actually be about the real planets that are in our solar system, and it might be learning about Mars and about what it's like on Mars with the heat, what the environment's like, what it looks like, and it would have facts, and it would be based in reality. Fiction is something we usually read to enjoy. So when I think about how we read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that was just so that we would enjoy a story together. We weren't learning something specific from it. We weren't learning about the true world of the Oompa Loompas. We know that that was all made up just to entertain us. With nonfiction, we read to learn. Now, that doesn't mean that we will not enjoy what we read when we read nonfiction, because there's a lot of nonfiction that I read because I love to learn about it. But that's just it. I'm learning about something in particular. In fiction, we read it in order. So we start at the beginning and we end at the end. Can you imagine if when we read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I just chose random chapters and played them for you? Wouldn't that be weird? You wouldn't understand why things were happening. But with nonfiction, you can pick it up and read it in any order. So for example, I have a dictionary here. I don't start at the beginning when I'm looking for a word. I don't start on the first page and read every single word until I find the word I'm looking for. No, that would take forever. Instead, I look through the whole book until I find the word that I'm looking for, and then I just read that one part, move on with my life. I don't have to read every single word in the dictionary. So you can read nonfiction in any order. Fiction often has illustrations. Sometimes it has photographs too. Sometimes there are charts and graphs. I can think of some things that are fiction based, but for the most part, fiction is illustrated. You might have a picture of a mouse that's driving a car. That would definitely be a fiction story. And in nonfiction, you have photos, graphs, and charts usually. So I have a cookbook here, and in here, you can see that I have used this book a lot. They have photographs of what the cookies will look like when you're finished with them. When I look at this right here, they have a little graph, and it shows what the ingredient is, and then it shows what it goes into. Rolled oats go into the milk bone. Real beef goes into these little chewies, and sweet potato goes into those little orange things right there. So there are graphs and things that are on nonfiction. I bet you didn't know that this is a nonfiction material that you could read. Fiction has a beginning, middle, and end. So with our story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, at the beginning, Charlie was very poor, he was cold, he was underfed. In the middle, they had a great adventure through the whole chocolate factory. And at the end, all the children had made mistakes except for Charlie, and Charlie inherited the chocolate factory. So it had a beginning, a middle, and end. Now, a nonfiction story, or not story, a nonfiction book often has what's called a table of contents. And so if you look at the very beginning, look at that. There's the table of contents. I can look here and see the different kinds of cookies that I might be interested in making. And so instead of a beginning, middle, and end, I go, oh, I want to make some special treats. That starts on page 91. Now I'm going to turn to page 91. And look right there. There's some special treats if I wanted to make some special treats. I've made that. I've made that. Let's see, I've made those. Oh, it's kind of fun to look through here. I've made those. I made a lot of things in here when I actually start looking at it. So anyway, I made this. I make the banana nut bread all the time. So starting on page 91, there's those special treats. So that's the table of contents. A fiction story has characters. Characters are like Charlie, Augustus Gloop, Veruca Salt, Willy Wonka, all of those characters. And nonfiction has an index, glossary, bold words, and labels. So if I were to look at this one, I can look at the contents right here. I can look at the back. Let's see. Nope, they don't have an index in this one. But they do have instructions that go in order. The labels right here, how to make a Valentine heart. There are graphs and charts of what to do. It's all different kinds. There were some more bold words right here. Let's look in this one real quick. So here's a table of contents. In the back, they're acknowledging people. Bibliography, which means who helped to write this. Seeing if I have an index anywhere. I know I have one that has an index. Maybe this one? So you can see that they don't always, oh, here's the index right here. So the index has every single thing in this book and then what page that can be found on. You can see this is one of the books I used to make my own book. So I tore the glossary out already. Has the contents. And here it has all the illustrations of all these critters. These different things. I know that our math book, look at that, it has the glossary in here. Glossary is just a little dictionary in the back that helps you to understand things. All right, and then lastly, a story has problems and solutions. So the problem in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was he was poor, didn't have enough food to eat. The solution was that he won the whole chocolate factory and became super rich and wealthy and had something that a lot of people would like to have, which is a whole candy factory. And nonfiction is based in truth, information, and it might have instructions in it. So I already kind of gave you a mini preview of some nonfiction texts, but I'm just going to go through these again so you can kind of look at them. One of the things that we think of right away when we think of nonfiction is a dictionary. Dictionary just has, oh, here's a table of contents right here in there. And then a thesaurus in the back. It has all sorts of information in it. It's organized in a way that allows us just to find what we need. It has true things in it, only facts. So this is like how to spell the word, what the grammar notification is, so this is a noun, and then what it means. And so you can go through a dictionary and it is definitely nonfiction. This is another nonfiction story. It's a treasury, and it has a lot of stuff about natural history in it. So if you want to learn about dinosaurs, you wouldn't have to start at the beginning. You could just look right here at the front and be like, oh, I want to learn about fruits. And so I'm going to turn to page 154. So let's look at page 154. And it's all about fruit. I thought this was really interesting. This is where fruit comes from. So like if you look here, grapes, cherries, olives, and figs all came from, like, it looks like Greece. That's kind of interesting. Grapefruits came from the Polynesian Islands, and all of those things were flown all over the world, and now we grow grapes. Even I have grapes in my front yard. I have a cherry tree in my yard. I don't have olives and I don't have figs. If you look from United States, right here, where strawberries, blueberries, gooseberries, lots of berries came from the United States. And so I'm reading this to learn. And I could also read the words, the whole entire thing, if I wanted to learn even more. This is kind of an older book though, so I wouldn't be using this for current research. I like this book because I like the illustrations in it, and that's why I keep this book. In fact, I have like 3 of those. Another book that I already kind of showed you is a cookbook. And so for these books, you open it up and you find the recipe you want. The way I usually do that, ooh, I think we spilled some stuff in here because it's sticking. Oh, this is a terrible example because it's sticking together. All right, I would look in the index and I would look for chocolate chip cookies. Chocolate chunk. Do they have chocolate? Oh, chocolate chip cookies. Oh my goodness, they have so many different kinds. There's blue ribbon chocolate chip cookies on page 10. So I'm gonna look on page 10 and find blue ribbon chocolate chip cookies right there. So, and then reading the instructions, I do have to go in order. Here are the ingredients, and then this is showing me how to drop a heaping tablespoon of dough onto the cookie sheet. So these are the instructions that I could read. So that is the way that one works. I brought this one because there's all kinds of crafts to make in here. You might look on YouTube for these kinds of things now, but when I was a kid, we looked through these kinds of books to figure out how to make different arts and crafts and things like that. I bet you have things in your house that you could read too. This was Mr. Littlejohn's favorite book when he was a boy. And it says, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by Stan Lee and John Buscema. Mr. Littlejohn, how do I say that?
Buscema.
Buscema. Thank you. So How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And this is a really interesting book. It has the table of contents, so you can go through and look at these. But as you look through this, it says chapter 1, since very few of us draw with just our fingernails, let's start off with what you'll need. Then we've got to make sure we're all speaking the same language. This part's the easiest. And so they are telling you what they do to make their comics. So they break it down and then they tell us, moving right along, we now introduce you to one of Marvel's many widely heralded close-ups, so called because the camera, meaning the reader's eye, has moved about as close as possible. This type of panel, in which the reader's view of the scene is from farther away, enabling him to see the figures from head to toe, is called a medium shot. So they go through and they tell you about each panel that they have, and then later on they get into how to draw the comics. But it's not just 1, 2, 3. They're actually talking about things that are happening in the way that you draw comics. So there's another nonfiction. And then I wanted to get into some things that you might not think of as something to read. And this is more closely related to what your assignment will be today. All of these things right here have things to read on them. So for example, this is Reptile Glue, Premium Craft Adhesive. And on the back, you can read right here, it says great for kids, non-toxic. There's no comparison to other craft adhesives. Let it get tacky before gluing pieces together. Allow 12 hours drying time. Not recommended for use in wet areas. Shelf life of 1 year unopened. Keep out of UV rays or product will discolor. Please clean cap and tip with water after use or product will glue cap to bottle. All containers, adhesive, and labels are made and manufactured in the USA. That's all nonfiction. There is an opinion here. There is no comparison to other craft adhesive. And then this is telling you some more instructions about using this. Poke hole and tip with a pin for precision opening. Works on ceramic, glue, glass, beads, rocks, shells, feathers, plastic, leather, cardboard, cloth, popsicle sticks, glass, block, paper, PVC, and many other materials. And so right on this bottle is a whole bunch of nonfiction information. I showed you this milk bone trail mix with real beef and sweet potato, chewy and crunchy, no artificial flavors. So these are some dog treats that Freddie likes. And right here, it is telling you some facts about what's it made of. And then here, they actually have a little bit of history. We made our first biscuit over a century ago in a little bakery on the Lower East Side of New York City. We still use the same high quality and wholesome ingredients to make the original bone-shaped dog treat after more than 100 years. And then right here it says, feed as a snack or treat as part of a healthy diet. Always monitor your pet while treating. And then here it tells us what is in these treats: crude protein, crude fat, crude fiber, and moisture. So all of that information is just in these doggy biscuits. I have some cocoa here. Right here, it says Swiss Miss hot chocolate, flavor hot cocoa mix, but here it says tear here. So it's telling us instructions. Empty delicious cocoa into mug. Add 8 ounces of water. For richer taste, add milk. Stir, sip, savor, you deserve it. Contains milk. This unit is not labeled for individual sale. So right here on this one little packet of cocoa, it is nonfiction. It's giving us instructions about how to use the contents of this little packet. A Disneyland guide. So here is, we can just look at the pictures and then pick a page that we're, Pixar Pier, pick a page that we're interested in. I love this roller coaster. Here you can do everything from embarking on a thrilling galactic rescue mission to cruising into a town inhabited by cars to racing along with a family of supers. And speaking of incredible experiences, you'll find them in the form of world-class stage productions and nighttime spectaculars. So they're telling us about things that are in Disneyland that we don't want to miss. So all kinds of nonfiction in here. And just like with any other kind of book, I skip around and find the parts that I'm interested in. Ooh, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, opening January 17th, 2020. Your transport has been captured by a Star Destroyer. In an instant, you'll be caught in a blaster fire from stormtroopers surrounding you. And if that's not enough, you'll discover how the excitement can get when you encounter a towering AT-AT with its lasers pointed right at you. Then suddenly the crackle of a lightsaber announces an inevitable showdown with Kylo Ren himself. I actually got to ride that before Disneyland closed down last year, so I feel pretty lucky. So that is something that you can read that's nonfiction. Here we have a little game called Snappy Dressers. Unlimited ways to play. Ideal for fast-paced matching games, single and multiplayer. So in here are the instructions. And, oh my gosh, just keeps on going. Objective, get all your guests into the party first. Place one card face up. So instructions are nonfiction too. How to play a game. If you've learned to play the Pokemon card game, you've had to follow some instructions. Oh my goodness, it just keeps on unfolding. But if we look at that, there are the instructions for the game. And it tells us how we can play this game. And did you notice that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4? So this one, you can't really read it out of order. But if you need to go back and figure something out, there are pictures that make it easy for you to figure out what to do. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm having a hard time getting this put back together. All right, there we go. Now I'll put that back in there. All right, something that everybody got sent this year was the 2020-2021 calendar. And so I gave this to you because I'm showing this to you because I know everybody has one of these. And when you look at this, you can see all the different things that are happening every day at school. So when we look at this week, whoop, that's December. One more page. This week, so it says Edmonds Community College winter classes begin. This is also the day that we are starting. Special Education Learning Night, Epiphany, Christmas Day for Orthodox. So it just tells us all the facts that are happening at school. So here it says on the 18th, no school, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then it says it in Spanish as well. So we don't have school that day. So now I know that when I see this purpley color, there is a change with it. So we didn't have school on New Year's Day. No way. But we did start school that day. So it's just kind of an interesting way to look at our days. And then something else is I brought, and this is not for this week, this is for the last week before we went on break. This is our calendar that I'm always encouraging you to read. So it says what to do on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday. And I make little notes on this and check things off and cross them out as I go so that I know what I've completed and what I still need to work on. The last two things that I have are letters, and these are both nonfiction letters. This one is one that you find in your math book. In this unit, your child will be collecting measurement data and using that data to make line plots. So these are letters to tell your parents about what you're learning in math. This was a letter that my mom sent to me. This is my mom's handwriting. My family calls me Tammy. Dear Tammy, as I have written your brothers, it was Marysville West that my Christmas doll collection started and has brought me joy all these years. And so she gave me a gift on Christmas, and it was a doll that she bought that reminded her of me. And this is a note that just tells me all about that. And so I'm going to keep this with that doll so that I always remember that history that goes with that doll. So your assignment today is to find something in your house that's nonfiction. And you might be thinking, I don't have anything that's nonfiction, Mrs. Littlejohn. So I want you to talk to your parents. You might have mail. You might have a package that you can read. Oh, I didn't even talk about this one. Pumpkin cupcake. So most of us have shampoo or soap. This says, gentle foam delivers a rich lather to wash away dirt and germs. To clean hands and wash away germs, wet hands, apply soap, work into a rich lather for at least 20 seconds, and rinse well. So it tells us how to use this, smells so good, this yummy smelling soap. So you can find anything that you have in your house that's nonfiction, and you're going to read it to me in a short video on Seesaw. So thank you for taking this little tour of nonfiction, and we're going to do this right now. So get ready and get busy.